First of all, thank you for coming. As you know, we run a series called the Living Writers Series, so this is our first of the semester. Today's guest is Kirk Charles, who is a certified personal trainer. He is all about tip-top physical and mental conditioning to take on life's challenges. He's also the author of Live in the Power Zone and has written more than 50 nationally published articles. For more than 10 years, Kirk has given presentations on enhancing personal performance and business development. He is affiliated with the National Academy of Sports Medicine as a certified personal trainer and corrective exercise specialist, as well as with the Aerobic and Fitness Association of America as a group exercise instructor. He is also a proud alumnus of Rutgers University and is currently working on a new book. So please join me in welcoming Kirk Charles.
Thank you. Thank you very much. First of all, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me, Jim. And I'm a living writer, huh? I guess I am. I don't think of myself as a writer. I write, but I'm not a writer. It's just like I can sing, but you don't really want to hear that. And the process of writing is sort of, I do it sort of differently. I consider myself somewhat of a musician. Years ago when I was growing up and I went to college, I thought I was going to be like Wynton Marsalis. I'm a trumpet player. I'm a big jazz lover. So you say you're going to New Orleans, I'd love to go there. Wynton Marsalis is from New Orleans. A good friend of mine, Terrence Blanchard, that I went to school with, probably never heard of him, but you've heard his music because he does a lot of movie scores, maybe 50 music scores, and he's done work for all of Spike Lee's movies. So if you've seen any of those, you've heard him. But I thought I was going to be like him, an artist. So jazz musicians improvise a lot. So when I do things, a lot of times there's no order to it. I just do it. Some people say if you throw enough stuff against the wall, something will stick. So I just see what sticks. But I do have some thoughts in mind regarding how to get the writing process started, how to get the best out of yourself. So I write from personal experience. I don't write fiction. I write more how to do it books and motivational type things and motivational articles and business articles. The articles that I've had published were in Black Enterprise magazine and a magazine called Black Men magazine. So they were all motivational and business development. I've also written some things at Rutgers. I've done radio. I used to have like a cable TV show years ago, which was about being motivated and motivating yourself. So that experience has brought me to the point where I'm at today, and I'm a personal trainer at this point, and now I write about exercise-related and nutrition-related topics. So I work with, at the moment, about 25 to 30 different clients. I have people who come to my exercise classes, and I get information from them as far as what I like to give to everyone. So I hear all the stories from my clients. I have detailed discussions with them, very private discussions, and they tell me about some of the battles that they're fighting, health-wise. And my job is to be able to cure some of those infirmities that they have. For instance, someone may have irritable bowel syndrome. Now, my answer for most physical problems, is number one, dietary change. Dietary change can take care of 90% of your physical infirmities. Of course, you need to be fit. So I think there's a difference between fitness and health. Fitness means you can perform a task. You're proficient at something. You work out hard and you're able to do it. Health means superior metabolic functioning. That means you don't get sick that much and you have a lot of energy. So my goal is to make sure my clients are engaged in a process that can proliferate health and fitness at a high level. Some listen to me, some don't. Some like me, some don't. I don't know. The more they dislike me, the more I love them. You know, you can't love your personal trainer, right? You got to sort of dislike me a bit because I'm mean and I'm cracking the whip. So I write about things pertaining to that at the moment. But I like to go back to the beginning. My first book is called Live in the Power Zone, which is this. I created this myself. This is not the current cover. I'll show you the latest one, or the latest updated cover, but I just picked this one here because it's right in front of me. This is a motivational book. And this is called How to Unleash the Power Within, but I changed the title to Live in the Power Zone. Why? Has anyone ever heard of Tony Robbins? Tony Robbins unleashes the power within. So I got a letter from them or a notice from them saying, look, you can't use that title. So I had to change it. But that book, I wrote it because my goal in life has always been to do public speaking. To me, speaking and writing go together. They're the same thing. So I write because it gives me something to talk about. And also when you're speaking in front of people, if I get 1,000 people in the room, I could probably sell 500 books. I like to make money. Who likes money? Anyone? Money's great. You got to love money so much, that you're willing to give your clients the best possible whatever you're trying to give them. Best possible energy, the best information. You got to give it to them. You got to put your whole heart into it, so they'll pay you an absurd amount of money. Some people pay me an absurd amount of money to do like little simple things. Some people don't want to pay me at all, but that's okay. But what I'm saying is that the writing process and the speaking process, to me, go together. So first of all, as far as the process is concerned, you have to have something good to say. What is it that you have to talk about? Now for me, I talk about my life and what I'm doing because that's the only thing I really know. I'm not really an expert at anything else. I mean, physical fitness, yes. I know about that. Nutrition, yeah, I know about that too. But I don't consider myself an expert on anything except me. So when I'm in front of people like I'm in front of you now, I'm convinced at this point in my life that the only thing you can teach people to do is to be just like you. Right? So the question is, are there any traits that I have that are admirable that you would want to emulate? That's the question. So I always, whenever I want information, if I wanted to be rich, I'd ask someone rich. I wouldn't ask some of my uncles and aunts. They're like, oh, boy, you don't know what you're doing. You should do it ABC way. I'm like, yeah, how much money did you make doing it that way? About nothing. I'm like, okay, great. So you have to have something powerful to say, and all I have that's powerful to say is basically my life, what's brought me to this point. That said, you have to have a philosophy that guides you and points you in the right direction. So when I graduated from college, this was back in 1986, I graduated. I got a book called Think and Grow Rich. One of my favorite books. You should write that down. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Probably the greatest self-help book ever. And I started reading that book, and I had a tape, a cassette tape, if any of you know what a cassette tape is. A friend gave me a cassette tape, and I listened to it all the time, and it cursed me. That friend I still see him to this day. It cursed me because now it put into my head that I can do anything I want, and I can be just unbelievable. I could be a rich millionaire. I could be healthy. I can do whatever I want. So I believe that I have unlimited power in a lot of different areas. A lot of times I might make self-deprecating remarks, but I think I'm a genius. Now, I also think that all of the clients that I work with, they have genius too. I got to bring it out. That's my job. So when people say I can't do it, I'm like, well, if you can't do it, that means I didn't show you how to do it. So I'm the one with the problem. I got to be better than that. I got to be bigger. So the things that I have to say pertain to that. So live in the power zone. How did that come about? Well, I'm listening to all these motivational speakers. I would get in my car from time to time and I would never listen to music for long periods of time. Just no music at all. Because what happens is that, anyone like Tupac here? Okay, I would listen to a lot of Tupac. You know, picture me rolling my 500 Benz. You know, like, I can't get it out of my head. I'm just Tupacing and Biggie, and I'm like, oh, this is just ridiculous. It's not, I love the music. I love the artists. I don't love everything they do, but I love it. But is that going to take me where I want to go? It wasn't. Sorry. I'm not a thug. I'm not a this, I'm not a that, and they glorify that type of stuff. Of course, there's a political message also, which is good, but I had to start putting in my mind things that would empower me. So I listened to all these motivational speakers, take all of their information, let's say Jim Rohn, Brian Tracy, Earl Nightingale, Tony Robbins, Les Brown, probably 20 different others whose names I cannot recall right now. And all that information would go into my head. Then all of a sudden I would start speaking about it, and I thought I would be like a motivational speaker. But I had the information in my head. And then, once you get the information in your head through life experience, then I started to write. So that's the genesis of the book, Live in the Power Zone. So a lot of times I'll start with the title. And from the title, then I'll come up with chapter names. Right? So I like alliteration. That book is based on what I call a dynamic destiny principle. So dynamic destiny, which means that your destiny is not written down in stone. It's not going to be any particular way. You can change it as you go along based on the way you think. So if you sow a thought, you reap an action. You sow an action, you reap a habit. You sow a habit, you reap a character. That's a famous quote. But I ended that. I actually made an addendum to it. If you sow a character, you reap a destiny. And that's what it's all about, your destiny. So the first chapter of this dynamic destiny principle is dreaming. You got to have a dream. Second chapter is discipline. You need discipline. Third chapter, decisions. Fourth, devotion. 5, determination. 6, daring. 7, deliverance. Those are the chapter titles, all start with D. Alliteration is catchy. People like it. Like the 5 or 6 D's for success. That's how that came about. And it's all based on the trials and tribulations that I've gone through in order to be successful at what I do. So then the question becomes, how do you determine what is success and what is not? Well, obviously, if you make a lot of money, people are going to assume you're successful, right? Well, I don't make a lot of money. I'm sorry to say. I get by. I'll make more in the future. But it's not all about money. We can look at how you handle situations, how you are physically. I'm a personal trainer. I'm suited to do that. So as far as the personal training realm is concerned, I'm pretty successful because I can do what a lot of people can't do physically. A lot of the people that I work out with, they're in their 20s and 30s. So my job, I'll be 54 soon, my job has always been to keep up with someone half my age. Now that's hard, because I know some guys who are 27, 28, and they're just kicking butt. We go running, and they make me look really bad. And I'm just dragging behind, right? But when you're an expert in the field, right, then you have more to talk about, more to write about, then people will follow you, so to speak. So you have to have something powerful to say. That's number one. Number two, learn to say it well. When I write, the reason I don't think of myself as a writer because I'm not always grammatically correct. So that said, since we're on a college campus, you need to know grammar and how to put sentences together because you don't want to sound like you have no knowledge or you're ignorant. But once you know the rules, then you can start breaking the rules. And I break the rules all the time. I have ain'ts in my book. I start sentences with and. I'm gonna do this and that. Well, that's the way I talk a lot. So I like to write in a conversational manner. When you read something that I write, I want you to think that I'm sitting right there with you and I'm talking to you. That said, audiobooks are big. Don't think of just the paper. Think of the audio. Why? Because now we live in a different age. When I was coming up, there were no audiobooks that I remember. I can't think of one. But nowadays, everyone wants to listen because we want to maximize on time. You're going somewhere, you want to listen to something. So think of the book maybe as being conversational. And I say that also because I've worked on creating my own audiobook where I read into it. It's very hard to read something and have it sound natural. So the better your writing skill is, more natural it sounds. So the way I'm speaking to you right now is the way I pretty much always speak. So I might throw in some things that you don't want to hear, some words you may not like, but I think you get the point. So you have to have something good to say. You have to learn how to say it well. I covered the part about being an expert in the field so people will follow you. Next, you have to be disciplined about how to try to put this together. When you're writing, oftentimes it's not good to think while you write. I don't know if that makes sense. Maybe I should put it like this. You should not edit while you write. I went to a presentation years ago, had to be 20 years ago, and a gentleman said the topic of this conversation was how to write a book in a week. I'm like, well, it took me a couple of years to try to get this out. What are you talking about, a week? What he was really saying is that the first draft of your book, do not think while you write. Doesn't matter if it's grammatically correct or not. Just write. Go back over it later. One thing that can stop you from writing a book is you write, oh, that sentence doesn't make sense. Then you go back and you change it. You keep going back and forth, and you never get it done. Just write it out the first time and then go back. You want to get those thoughts out of your head. Secondly, sometimes it's easier to dictate instead of writing. You may be out and you have your phone on you and an idea hits you for a paragraph. Start dictating. You don't always have to write. That said, also, when you're in bed at night, ideas can hit you. Keep a piece of paper and a pencil by your bed at night, or something to dictate into your phone. Ideas will hit you at the oddest times. You don't know where you're going to be, who you're going to be with. One mistake that I made years ago was that I always tried to do everything myself. Now I talk to people a lot, and I get their input. So as you're talking to someone, they may give you the idea that you need because you just can't see it. Sometimes I get so entrenched in what I'm doing, I'm so in the thick of it that I don't know what the heck is going on. And then I'll ask a friend, and they'll give me an obvious answer to the dilemma that I'm in. It happens all the time. All the time. So, talk to people. Always be ready to jot down an idea. Always keep in mind that an idea is going to come to you at the weirdest moment, normally when you're relaxed and you're not thinking about it. That's when it's going to hit you. You ever try to think of something and then all of a sudden you go on to something else and then all of a sudden it just hits you out of nowhere? That's exactly what I'm talking about. So you write that first draft and you don't think about it. Just get it out. Get it out, get it out. Then go back. Now me, I revise a lot. I keep going back and forth and back and forth. I might go through 50 iterations of a paper. It might take me, I might go through 50 iterations of a paragraph just to get what I want out of it. Then you'll come to a point, after you get it out and you finish working on it, then you have to show it to someone else. That's where it gets tough. Who do you show it to? Why is it tough? Because for me, in my situation, after years and years and years of talking to people, you develop certain friendships, and you have your family. You can sort of wear them out to a degree. Like, I asked my mother to read 30 other books, right? She's not reading 31. I love my mother, but she's not going to read it. You want fresh eyes to look at your stuff. You want a diverse group of people to read what you've written. So, certain people I don't go to any longer because I don't want to burn them out. I've asked them for too much. They're like, Kirk, you wrote all this stuff before. I don't want to read it now. Nah. The people who will give you the best feedback are the people who don't know you that well. Because my family and certain friends, they know me well. And they know of all the trials and tribulations. They know of all the failures I may have had. You're just meeting me, so you might think I'm great. Right? I could be dastardly, of course. But on first meeting, you got to love me. I mean, I'd love me if I just met me, right? I mean, I love all of you, just meeting you. There's nothing wrong with you. So you can look at me more objectively, and you can read a book without all these preconceived notions or all the history and all the past stuff. Get rid of that. Talk to people and have them look at what you've written, who are maybe experts, but lay people also, because the lay person really is going to read your book, not an expert. But have people look at what you do who can be objective and who will give you an honest opinion. If it's crap, you want to know it's crap. And you want to know as soon as possible. If it smells like doo-doo, it's doo-doo. Okay? You want honest opinions. And they hurt sometimes. They hurt sometimes. Kirk, that was boring. I don't want to read it anymore. I mean, I've heard that before. The sentences are too long. I just don't like it. It doesn't make sense. You put your heart and soul into something, and someone reasons that they say it doesn't make sense. I'm like, oh gosh. After all this time, it doesn't make sense. It took me months to get to this point. You can't understand what I'm doing or what I'm saying. You get that a lot. So you have to be able to take that criticism. I've suffered through a lot of it. I'm lucky. When I was in school, back in Rutgers, I was in the jazz ensemble. I'm a trumpet player. And there was a gentleman there by the name of Paul Jeffrey. Paul Jeffrey was the leader of the jazz ensemble. He was the toughest critic I ever remember. There was a movie out recently, maybe won an Academy Award, where there were musicians and there was a really tough band leader, and I think he threw like a cymbal at someone at one point. Has anyone seen that movie? Know what it is? Whiplash. I didn't see the movie, but I heard about it. The leader of my jazz ensemble in school was like that. He would be on your case all the time about everything. We'd have 5 guys in the band who were trumpet players, and something wouldn't sound like, stop, cut it out. He'd say, you play your part. Okay, that's good. You play your part. And if you couldn't play your part, oh, he would just jump all over you. You'd feel this big. But what's the beauty of someone like him? He made you tough. And if you couldn't deal with him, then how could you deal with being on the street? You'd never get a gig. You'd never make money. So you want the toughest criticism you can possibly get, but you have to be able to take it. And it will only make you grow. Therefore, be prepared for a battle. A battle up here and a battle out there, but it will only make you bigger and better. And by show of hands, who's going to write a book? Anyone? Who writes articles? Okay. A book that I have that I'm working on right now is about what I do as a personal trainer, but based on the nutrition side. And it's called Just Trying to Stay Young. That's the title of it right now. Now, I was speaking to a lady on the phone on the way here about the book. And I told her last night I felt really bad. I was just worn out, tired. I'm tired of trying hard all my life. I've been trying hard for since I got out of college, which was like 86. Right? That was a while ago. And you try, you fail. You try, you fail. You try, you fail. And I told her I'm tired of failing. I just can't take it anymore. I'm ready to kill somebody. I just can't do it. So I'm writing this book, and keep in mind that when you're creative, you can be a genius. You can be the best ever and be flat broke. And no one may know about this. I've had genius ideas over the last 20, 30 years. But it doesn't matter if you can't sell it and get it into people's hands. Well, this is the business side of it, obviously. It's great to be creative, but you have to be able to support yourself. Therefore, you may want to keep your day job and work on your creativity. You've got to keep those juices flowing. But then an idea hit me for this book. And I said in the beginning, I was sort of hard-headed, wanted to do everything myself, thought I could do it all myself. Well, I found out that I can't do it all myself, and there's so much that I don't know a couple of years ago. So with this particular book, we were talking about getting it published. Now, I self-publish everything, and it's really easy. Anybody can self-publish, right? But I'm thinking now, what if I collaborated with someone who is famous, who wants to write a book? on this particular topic. A person with a name. Let's say it was Beyonce. Now, if Beyonce wrote a book, what do you think the odds are that it would sell 1 million copies, like, overnight? It's like high. It's like really high. If I write a book, the odds of it selling 1 million copies overnight is low, really low. What if Beyonce wants to write a book and she says, Kirk and I meet her and we talk and we're vibing. You know what? I'll write the book with you. Or maybe I could be a ghostwriter. Or maybe she doesn't have to do any of the work. She just puts her name on the book because this book is exactly in line with her philosophy about whatever the topic is. That's the idea that I have now for this next book. Have someone else, in a sense, I'm sort of using someone, but not necessarily. We're using each other, right? We have a symbiotic relationship. Is that the right word? Symbiotic relationship. You're powerful and I'm powerful. We come together and we're like omnipotent. So who's a famous person that would engage in this topic that I'm engaged in, who would love to engage in it? Now the topic is plant-based eating. My theory is, and again you have to have something good to say. You have to have something good to say. I have to be the example of whatever it is that I espouse, right, regarding eating. So that means I got to be in tip-top shape all the time. I have to have energy. I have to be enthusiastic about what I do, and I have to have a love of life. That's the image that I have to project, which goes into this book. I hope I'm all of those things at this moment and throughout the entirety of my life. That's the energy I bring to the job. So all that goes into the book, and the other person has to just read that book and love it. And there we go. We have omnipotence. So who wants to put their name on my book? I don't know. I don't know. I will find out. And I'll bet you to sell 1 million copies like that. Again, the topic is plant-based eating. So the lady I'm talking to, she sends me a list of people who are vegan. Mike Tyson. Didn't know that. Wouldn't it be nice to write a book with Mike Tyson? He's a celebrity. Mike is fun. Mike, did you see his HBO special or whatever it was? Oh, it was great. Mike was a hit. Venus Williams. Beyonce and Jay-Z owned a company, I believe, based on plant-based eating. They did something with their cook. And she gave me a list of other people. Erykah Badu. Plenty of people might be interested in this topic. It's a good topic. It can save lives. I think the answer for all metabolic problems, looking at the health part and the fitness part, the answer for all of it, or 99%, is based on what you eat. So that said, I converted to veganism, although I don't like the word, back in 1989, 28 years ago. So I lived that. And I'm the example of this book because it comes from my own experiences. Also, I put a lot of facts and figures from other sources, gurus in like the natural health field. Well, why would I do that? Well, there's a problem. I speak to my clients and they have these problems. Not all of them, not serious problems. And keep in mind that a lot of them are like 40 to 50 right now, but I know how these problems are going to manifest in the next 20 to 30 years because I see it in older relatives. So if someone tells me, look, at age 50, they're 20 pounds overweight now. Well, I'm thinking by 75, they're going to be about 40 or 50 pounds overweight. That's about my father's age. He's not overweight. I'm just using that as an example. But I talk to my father, and I see some of the physical ailments he has right now, and genetically, we're pretty close. So I say, if I do what you do, I'm going to feel like you feel, and the rest of the men in my family, who many have prostate cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure. And I'm like, whoa, what can I do to circumvent all that? Plant-based eating is the key. So therefore, I write the book. How much time do we have, sir? We're doing well. 5 minutes. So here is my latest book that I'm working on. Now this is, I self-publish a lot. That's exclusively what I do. This book, to get this in my hand, only cost me less than $10. $10. I did all the writing, I did all the formatting, I did all this in Word. This picture I took at JCPenney, it's not a great picture, but I just put this together so I could see it because I like to feel it and see it and read it while I'm on the train. I'm old school. I like to read on paper. Nowadays, people like to use tablets and phones, and some people never use paper at all. So I got to get over that. I got to understand that there's a segment of the population who's like that. My population is dying off. Some people have never read a newspaper. New York Times. Some people get it delivered every day and they're reading it, but they're always older. Younger folks are always on the phone. They get it. So I got to keep up. So this is what I do. Now, with the previous book that I wrote, I have like iterations of it. These were the covers that I used. I was just playing around, right? Now, let's see how it looks. Now, I did all of this myself, but then I had a professional artist do the actual cover of that book. The cover sells. The cover makes you want to grab it. So will I put myself on the cover of this next one? I don't know. Maybe people want to grab me? I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out quickly, right? But again, if I co-write it with someone else, they'll probably want to grab that other person, a celebrity, and, bang, here we go. So self-publishing, you can get those copies in your hands quickly. You can see it, you can feel it, and once you start to see it and feel it, then you become really excited about it. Now, as far as making money, I've always thought about selling the books as I'm speaking, as I mentioned before. I never really thought about just selling it without me being there. That said, you want to be a good speaker. You have to work on speaking. I don't know if I'm a good speaker or not. I hope I am. I hope I get my point across. I hope I sound intelligent and not foolish. But that's for you to determine, not me. So work on your speaking skills. Don't be afraid to be in front of people. I've been in front of people for the last 20, 30 years. When I was a kid, I played trumpet. I've been on stage, so it's sort of natural for me. But really, really work on that, because in today's world, you got to keep in mind that people really don't read that much. They like to see. In the world we live in now, you can see things instantaneously. Back when I was coming up, we didn't have internet, no cell phones. I don't know if we had computers when I was in high school, but I don't remember them. By the way, I majored in computer science back in school, but nowadays, what I learned back then probably has no application today. But keep in mind, this is a visual world. People want to see you. So you have to be prepared to be seen, whatever that means. Keep that in mind. And do we have any questions?
Gotta do my Maury Povich.
Maury Povich. Somebody ask a question, please.
Could you maybe talk a little bit just about, writing of the books? Like you talked about how you outline it. About the actual writing process, like when you sit down at the computer, what do you have to do to sort of get into the writing zone?
What do you have to do to get into the writing zone? Everyone's different. Some people like music. Some people like total silence. Some people need to be away from everyone. Personally, I like music, but music without lyrics. Because if I hear the words, then I can't write. So I'll put on jazz. Pat Metheny. Nice guitar music in the background. That gets me in the mood. It keeps me calm. I'm a loner. I grew up as an only child for like 15 years. Then my mother had another kid. I'm like, I don't know why you got her around, but I love my little sister. But I'm a loner naturally, so I like to be alone with nice, mild music playing. And again, I just write. Write. Just let it come out, go back later. Get that first draft out, like I said. But now when you get to the editing part, which you really should not be editing your own book, that's not a good idea. Have someone else do it. Fresh eyes, because there are things in there you just can't see. There are mistakes all over the place. You'll look like a fool if you just put your writing out there. Always have someone else look at What made me decide to become a personal trainer? I'm telling you, I didn't decide to do it. My ex-wife has 2 friends, and they said, Kirk, you should be a personal trainer. I never thought of it. Had no concept of it. This is why you have to talk to people, because I didn't see that in myself. Now, what really happened is that I was in the mortgage business, and the mortgage business crashed back in 2008. When it crashed, I crashed, lost everything. They took my cars, took my house. One time I was home, and they were like repossessing my car. Anyone ever have a car repossessed? Probably not. This is funny. So I'm in the bed, right? And I can hear the diesel engine of a tow truck coming to take my car. It was cold, it was winter. I'm like, oh God, they're gonna take my car. I had a nice little BMW and I had a truck, right? So I'm running out of the house, like, get the hell off my car, blah, 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 blah. I had on this old ski suit, old blue ski suit that I could barely get in because I was a little skinnier back then. I'm running out there trying to save this car. But, you know, once they took the car, I was like, wow, this is great. I don't have to worry about that car anymore. It's gone. Here's another good point. Material possessions are good, but can you maintain them? Right now, I live a very life where you don't need a whole lot of money, and I love it. I feel free. I'm not trying to maintain something that really has no meaning to it. So there's nothing material that I really have a strong connection to except for my trumpet, which I've had that since I was in college. And there's a lamp that I made when I was in the 9th grade, a wooden lamp. So those are the only 2 possessions I have that I really treasure. They're worth nothing, but they're mine. So I'm a trainer because I have 2 friends who said, Kirk, you should be a personal trainer. And at the time that I started, which was in 2010, I believe, I interviewed to be a teacher, to teach 8th grade math. And I didn't get hired. And that forced me to go into training full time. So I've always wanted to call that particular vice principal and thank her for not calling me back. Because had she done that, I would have been a teacher, and that would have killed me. Because I was in one of the worst schools you could be in, and it was just a chaotic situation. I couldn't make that transition. I think you need to be trained to be a teacher, trained properly to make it an easy transition. I can't do it, but I can do personal training. Question? Please ask a question. Here we go.
So you said you studied computer science.
Yes.
So what made you randomly want to be a writer?
What made me want to be a writer? Because when I was in school, I mentioned that a gentleman gave me a tape of the book Think and Grow Rich, and I'm a big dreamer. I've always believed ever since I was a little kid that God would never let me down. So if I really believe in it, I can do it. And I got a tape of this book, Think and Grow Rich, and I started listening to it all day long, and then I'm in my car and I'm listening to nothing but motivational things. You can do it, you can do it, you can do it. And then everyone is brainwashed to believe something. We're subject to the information that's out here and we put it in. If you listen to people who tell you you can't do it, you probably won't be able to do it. But if you listen to people who say you can do it, that changes the whole world. Now, I've found out the hard way, this is especially true of your personal relationships. The person that is sleeping next to you, wife, husband, whatever the status is, that person has more influence on you than anyone else in the world. You start to pick up the habits of that person. And that person picks up your habits also, good, bad, or ugly. Is that person a positive influence on you? What is that person saying to you? So the lady that I see right now, she's always saying positive things to me. I've known her for a few months now, and the reason I like her is because she's never said one negative thing to me in more than 100 days. Not one mean thing, not one nasty thing, not one. I'm like, wait a minute. This is ridiculous. You have to have a nasty, mean side. Now, I know some other ladies who had that nasty, mean side. One in particular, we went out and she called me at one point. I don't know why I'm going into this, but you did ask. She called, you need to know this. You need to know this because this will affect your writing and whatever you do. she said, I called her after a couple of days. I just forgot to get back to her. I didn't know the relationship was like, I got to call you right back. She thought it was. And she said, you really don't understand what's wrong, do you? And when she said that to me, I'm like, this is over. I don't know what's wrong. I don't want to know what's wrong. I don't care who's wrong, but this ain't happening. Now, I would never get that type of response from this other lady. So because of that, she can stay around because now she inspires me. You will need inspiration, a heck of a lot of it, in order to do the things you want to do in life. The higher you go up, or the higher you intend to go up, the more inspiration you will need, the more positive vibes you will need. You can't have negativity around you because you'll start to believe that you just can't do it. And again, that person who's right next to you, if that person doesn't believe you can do it, well, there are two ways to deal with it. People who say you can't do it, maybe you want to prove them wrong, right? But it's difficult when you're trying to prove wrong the person that you're in a relationship with. That doesn't make sense. Like, if it's a friend, I'm going to prove you wrong, and I don't have to see you. But I got to see this other person all the time. And you can wear me down mentally, and then all of a sudden your life goes down the toilet, and you wonder why, and it's not a good thing. So inspiration. Be with the right person in your relationships. Someone who inspires you, you have to inspire that other person. I don't know if there's a meaning to life, but it's more fun when we inspire each other. I hope I answered your question. Anyone else?
Seems like a good sentiment to end on. Inspiration.
One last thing. You have to know you're a genius. You have to realize that there is something special about you. You got to really believe this because, again, when you're entrepreneurial, when you're artistic, you're going to be hit hard. I mean, below the belt, in the head, beanballs are going to be thrown at you. People are going to talk about you like you're a fool. People are going to laugh at you. You're going to fall down the dirt, and some people may laugh. Keep something in mind, though. One time I was on the beach in Jamaica, and I was trying to windsurf, which is one of the toughest things for me to do. You're on a surf, moving around. Oh, okay, that's not cool. You're on a surf, and you're trying to keep your balance. And I was the only one on the beach trying to windsurf. I got on that surf and fell down like 100 times. And when the first 20 times I fell, I'm thinking to myself, wow, people looking at me and they're laughing at me, right? And then after a while, I forgot everyone was there. It was just me and the surfboard and the instructor. Later that night, I'm walking around in the compound that we were at, and people came up to me and said, were you that guy out there on that windsurf? I'm like, yeah, that was me. They're like, wow, I wish I could do that. You're a strong guy. And a couple of people said things like that, although I was horrible at it. So what I'm really saying is that when you think people may be laughing at you, they're really envious and they're cheering you on because they wish that they had enough nerve to do what you're doing. That said, don't be afraid to look foolish. Start acting like a fool. Make the mistakes. Look stupid. It's the only way to grow. When you were a kid and you first tried to walk, you probably fell on your face or on your butt. But you kept on trying. You didn't know. You were unaware of what people were thinking about you. You have to have that attitude. And then you got to know there's something special in you. You have a gift. I don't know what it is. You may not know what it is at this point. I didn't know I had a gift for personal training. Had no clue until someone else saw it, told me about it. So it's there. You got to bring it out. Therefore, again, you hang out with people or around people who inspire you. You may not get this inspiration from your family. Sorry to say it, but it may be the case. There are times where you will want to go to your family for inspiration, or you have an idea and they may strike it down. Because they may see you one way and you see yourself another way. I see myself as great. So I'm going to find someone who's going to tell me I'm great, and that's going to make me greater. And then, hey, maybe I won't be the exact person I thought I was going to be, but maybe I'll be something else that's comparable. Get out there. Believe that you know you have it inside. You have it. You got to get it out, whatever it is. Sir?
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much.
Thank you.